real cases before a real judge.
Plaintiff Robert Jamison says the defendant's son has a history of criminal offenses for drugs and theft, and Robert believes he needs some tough love. Robert is suing because he claims the defendant's son stole his moped and crashed it. Defendants Teresa Wilson and her son Brandon admit that Brandon is no angel and was incarcerated for theft. Teresa says her son did not steal Robert's scooter. They're countersuing for medical bills.
Let me hear from you.
Your Honor, I've watched your show. You talk about tough love, and that's what Brandon over here needs, is some tough love. He's got a history of criminal offenses with drug and theft, probation by his own admission, bad reputation around town.
How many convictions do you know of?
From him, too.
Okay.
Matter of fact, after this incident that we're here today for, a week later, he was involved in theft with my youngest son's bicycle, iPod, and phone.
How do you know?
I got in contact with the police. We caught up with the kids, and with his own admission, he was involved with the iPod, and I have audio on that.
Oh, all right. You have your hand up. What do you want to say?
That's not true, sir.
What's not true?
About him saying that I have own admission and about knowing the iPod, I didn't steal any of the stuff. That's
you
why
have something you say?
Yes, I do.
What is it? Who is it from?
It's from Brandon Wilson.
Okay. I never said.
Well, we'll hear it. We'll hear it. Okay.
Hey, Robert, it's Brandon. I was just giving you a call to let you know that we're supposed to be getting the phone back in the morning, and I'm not too sure about the iPod, but if you could give me a call back, I would appreciate that very much. Thank you. Have a great day.
Your Honor, that's not admission. That's just Brandon saying
I'll
that
be
he
the
got...
judge of that. Counselor, I'll let you know whether I believe that's an admission. It's my right to interpret that. What do you want to tell me about your son's behavior, though?
I agree. Brandon's not no angel. But
Has
the only reason
he been
why...
convicted of crimes?
Yes, he has.
What type?
He has done time for theft, served his probation, and he also went to drug rehab and completed his rehab. He is no longer on probation. He just turned 18 last Sunday.
What's the second conviction?
It was a false charge.
He wasn't convicted?
That is correct. He was not convicted.
Okay, so he only has one conviction?
That is correct.
All right. And any other arrests?
No, he's not been in any trouble.
How are your grades?
I'm not in school anymore.
Why not?
I'm doing like an online program thing.
Why?
Through my high school.
Why?
Just because at time when I'd gotten out of rehab, it was, I didn't like going to school too much. And
why?
I don't know, I just didn't like the whole school environment too much.
Good enough. Go ahead. Let's get to the breach of contract.
So on May 28th, he stole the scooter, took the scooter without permission from my son. And apparently on a straight road, he managed to run into a fire hydrant that's 3 feet into a yard at 11 o'clock on a sunny day. My son called me. I come down there. Brandon was in the ambulance. The mother was there. Trying to figure out what was going on. I asked the mother, is he a minor? How old is he? This is the first time I've ever seen the kid, by the way. And she said, no, he's an adult. Then the police, I started talking with the police officer, and they said, no, he's a minor. We just had an incident with him a few weeks ago on somebody else's scooter, speeding and not wearing a helmet. So it wasn't his first incident on a scooter. At that point, she started to apologize and talking about how broke she was because of all the legal fees, and gave me the sob story. So I didn't press charges. She said, I'll pay for it, I'll take care of it. So we set up a day to come over, write up a contract, which I have the contract right here.
See it, please.
And they agreed to pay $100 a month. I was charging them $1,000 for the scooter, $100 a month. She said they'd pay $25 a week.
Plaintiff Robert Jamison says the defendant's son, who he claims stole his scooter, has a history of criminal offenses for drugs and theft.
Let me hear from her. Ma'am, what do you want to tell me?
Okay. Your Honor, Mr. Mathis, on the day of this accident, Brandon did not steal a scooter. I have several witnesses.
You were there?
Josh told his parents he let Brandon ride the scooter.
Okay, Josh is your son. All right, and so your defense is, since he was allowed to drive it, it's all right to run into a fire hydrant?
No, Your Honor, I'm not saying that.
Well, that's the issue, is one, whether you agreed to pay, and secondly, it's not an issue of whether he stole it. The question is whether he was negligent. However he got it. Was he negligent when he rammed into a fire hydrant?
He's changing everything. When we first had these conversations, it was never mentioned that Brandon had stolen the scooter. It wasn't until he didn't get any payments that he's trying to say now Brandon stole the scooter.
No, it's when he didn't get any payments, he's suing you. Does it say anything about stolen on here?
No.
So what is your defense to not paying for a contract that you signed?
I was not aware that Brandon was not making his payments to Mr. Jameson. When I had signed this contract, I let Brandon know that we made a contract and we needed to get this taken care of. On the day of the accident, they were still there and I was waiting to go to the hospital with him because he spent 3 days in ICU due to the damages that he suffered from the accident. They never picked up the scooter. I never received a bill of sales. I was trying to do the right thing, but I felt threatened into signing the contract because I was trying to, I was just scared to death. I didn't know what to do.
Threatened by whom?
Mr. Jameson,
What did you think he would do to you?
He threatened to get Brandon in trouble,
He's already been in trouble. That's not a big deal.
You're right. He has been in trouble.
And if he hadn't done anything wrong, he can't get him in trouble. You should not feel under duress to sign something if you don't believe your son did anything wrong. Did you think he did anything wrong?
He wrecked the scooter. So therefore, I do believe that he's responsible for wrecking the scooter.
Okay, so then you signed it legitimately. He didn't make you sign this. You're just saying you signed it because you believe your son did something wrong. What has changed?
Nothing has changed, Your Honor.
So we'll be able to give him this money because some reason you just want to show up and be on TV about your son?
No, not at all.
Okay, well, why do we have to do this? You signed here.
I was the first one out there after my neighbor saw the wreck.
Okay.
I went out there immediately as soon as the wreck was over. Brandon was bleeding all over. Yeah.
Now let's pray for him. Now let's get back to what happened. Let's get back to what we're saying. And that point is, do you believe he did anything wrong by running into the fire hydrant?
No, I believe it was an accident. I don't think he went out and said, I'm going to run the scooter into a hydrant.
It doesn't have to be intentional. It's called negligence. You have a duty of normal and reasonable care of property. If a person is driving on the street, no one's on the street, no one rams them into the fire hydrant, they end up hitting the fire hydrant. There's no ice that causes them to spin around. There's no heavy rain to cause them some type of obstruction of their view. They've been negligent. And that's what he's done, ma'am. And you were right to sign this, and you were wrong to come in here and act like he did nothing wrong now, and for some reason you were forced to sign it.
Plaintiff Robert Jameson says the defendant's son, who he claims stole his scooter, has a history of criminal offenses for drugs and theft.
Your counterclaim for $5,000 for medical bills, how does he owe you $5,000?
I just thought we should equally, when we originally signed this contract, we agreed that both children were going to be equally responsible for the cost of the scooter.
I'm sorry, I missed that part. Read it to me.
I did too.
Read it to me on there. You said when we signed the contract.
I have the copy of it in front of me.
So you didn't have that in the contract?
No, this was a mutual agreement
I thought you said you
us.
did. This is the mutual agreement regarding the bike.
We had a verbal agreement,
a verbal conversation.
You're right. This came after the fact. We already had our conversation.
Okay, well, the rule in contract law is that you can't have an amended agreement verbally. You have to sign a new agreement, and he has done no such thing. So why does he owe you, once again, for medical bills?
I just feel like they both are equally responsible. Josh gave Brandon permission to ride the scooter. That's here nor there, I guess, in Your Honor.
In the law. Not in my opinion, the law.
In the law.
This is a negligence and enforcement of contract case. Your son did wrong by running into a fire hydrant. That's negligence.
Yes, Your Honor.
And they're not responsible at all. Judgment for the plaintiff, $1,295. Your claim is dismissed for medical bills. It had nothing to do with it.
I'm just glad he's no head injuries. He's doing okay. And
I mean, it is what it is. They won, we lost.
I just hope he learned his lesson.